we found water. Over the past 2 days, we've had well drillers out here on the farm putting in a well for us. A well is a wonderful way to have water all over your property. It's not the most sustainable way, but often it's the most efficient way for most people. Now, before you even start looking for water, you have to get your well permit done. Most well companies won't talk to you without the paperwork, but even before that, you have to find where's the water on the property. The best way that we found is these dowsing rods. Now, people say it's witchcraft and have for a long time, but you saw as I walked up the landscape and in other videos of me using these, when we get over the water, the bars cross. It wasn't like that all over. It was just right here when we got here. Now, just because these dowsing rods cross doesn't mean that the water is easily available at the surface. So the well drillers, they'll keep going until you say stop. So we're drilling down into the aquifer until we reach an area where there's an underwater river or a large cavern. This one, we got really lucky. We had to go deep for it. This one I think is 545 feet, but we got 60 gallons a minute of a recharge rate. Know the term recharge rate because that's the amount of water that's coming into your well. Like at the other farm that you've seen, we're only pumping out like 7 gallons a minute. So if we're pumping out 7 gallons from this one and 100 gallons is coming back in, there's no way that this well is gonna run dry. Other terms to know is like the static water level. So after you drill down, the water's gonna come back up and it's gonna fill this tube to a certain height. That height is your static water level. That comes into play when we're talking about pumping. The other thing that we need to know is how far down. Like I said, this one's 545 feet, and that'll come into pump selection as well. Remember years ago, in our survival series, we talked about doing a sip well and digging a small hole in the ground next to the creek and using the mud of the creek bed to filter the water. This is doing the same thing, but on a much larger level. The depth of your well will be determined by your usage. So whether if you need a little bit of water and not a large recharge rate or not a lot of capacity, the further we go down, the more capacity we have as that well fills up. Not a hard rule of thumb, but the deeper you go, the more likely you are to reach, higher flows of water. When we were drilling this one, we didn't get anything for about 400 feet. And then all of a sudden, or 500 feet, excuse me. Then all of a sudden, the water just came like bursting out. And I say bursting out, it's not gonna be like overflowing like an artesian well, but when they're drilling the well, they're using compressed air and water to lubricate that bit against the rock. You can see all this grit around me. Grit is the technical term for ground up rock that come out of the well. There's lots of uses for this in natural building. It's kind of like a sandy solution at this point. But this is rock. This is like granite that's been ground up. But you can see as it goes, the water, as you head towards the camera, you can see it channeling and eroding away out into the landscape. So it has to flow away. It comes up, hits the well truck again, then kind of like mushrooms over and then flows out. A lot of this has been dug as the well is going. SustainableHomestead.com is the way to subscribe to our newsletter, join us for our Wednesday night Homestead Mastermind, come out for a tour, or even book one of our larger classes where we give you all the ins and outs of running a homestead efficiently, from rotational grazing to animals to market gardening to putting in wells, rain catchment, other infrastructure that's necessary. We want to give you a large toolbox so that when you get back on your land, you can apply those tools correctly. A well is just another one of those tools. Thanks for watching.